I have a prediction. This is either going to be the most popular stream we have ever done, because everyone will be crowding in here live for us to unpack the ladies' social sexual hierarchy. Or it will literally be the emptiest room we've ever had, because who cares, right? Women look at men's and men don't care what the women do, because as long as we have our hair long, they know we're pretty. Welcome to the Mosaic Arc. She's weird, Barbie, just so you know. We're done now.
In case anybody was wondering.
So
I was happy I finally got my archetype.
I don't know. Okay, so this is this inside baseball problem of the social sexual hierarchy, socio-sexual. I feel like Tim Curry trying to say that. Socio-sexual hierarchy. Do you notice I have lipstick on? Either it's horrible inside baseball and nobody knows what we're talking about, or literally the entire planet's going to be here waiting for the secrets, because I had students on campus today. I heard them talking about Sigma game.
Uh-huh.
And I having, you know, it was so fun. I've been talking about like conspiracy theories and the French Revolution and stuff like that. So I'm like, do you know where it comes from? Because I know, because I'm a fangirl of Vox. Don't tell him. Oh my gosh, please, no, nobody tell him that I fanned him. Does he ever watch? I don't think we've ever had Vox in our chat. I show up in his chat every so often and go, hi, and he says,
you do drop in, don't you?
Fencing Bear is in the room, and I go, oh, he noticed me.
That's eyelids. Yes.
I think there's a hypergamouse to this effect, right? Although our Supreme Dark Lord definitely insists that he is simply the author of hypergamos, which I mean, and she's drawing it. So when she drew what the new guy, who's so, you know, like, hi, and the girl is desperately trying to get his attention and going, hi, how are you? You must be new here. And he's like, yes.
Oh yeah.
And she starts sweating and everything, and she's like, oh, I was just reading this one right now, and he's like, yes, I'm new here, and she's like, God, he's such a creep. So I'm not sure the guys that I overheard talking about Sigma really want that response. I think the particular guys that I heard talking about would prefer the attention that the woman was giving them, but maybe not. Maybe they're actually true Sigmas. I'm not really in a situation to be able to tell, because I'm not someone they're going to be interested in, because, well, you know, like their grandmother's age. No, maybe their mom's age. I'm kind of in that middle ground now between the undergraduates are, 18 to 22, and I'm technically old enough to be their grandmother. probably.
But you mean biologically?
Biologically, yeah, and biologically
Yeah.
older than their grandmother. But most of us ladies of the professional class, among whom count many of their mothers, right? We had our babies a little late, so their mom or their I'm old to be their mom for sure, but too young to be the grandmother. I'm in a never land of postmenopausal hell. But my hair is long. Did you notice?
I did. No, it's the Gen X vintage. It's just Neverland forever.
Okay, we are not doing
Gen X.
No, we're not doing generations
Right.
today. We're doing
Okay.
socio-sexual hierarchy, but yes, you're right.
All right. Your hair is long. She was teasing me earlier.
The socio-sexual hierarchy, not
egging
the
me on to cut
Generation
my hair.
X. Why we are nearly in our 60s, because I'm like the oldest part of the Gen X wave, right? We are nearly in our 60s and we are basically still the kids. It's so confusing. But we're not talking about
that. Okay. No.
Oh, we might, if that
now
plays into. Well, no, age definitely plays into the women's social sexual hierarchy, so maybe we'll get there, right? But so anyway, soberly, if we can stop thinking about Vox. I really set myself up for this one, right?
No, I have ice water.
I've got my wine. I won't drink red wine because, being a woman of a certain age, it gives me horrible headaches. It has to be white and highly watered, right? Those of you who have not been following our Supreme Dark Lord for decades and decades and decades may not be familiar with the concept that he has very carefully articulated, building on the men's game that was an object of conversation a decade or so ago. I confess I wasn't paying attention. To the effect of alphas and betas, bravos. It's switched around the vocabulary, right? And how you can train yourself Andrew Tate which is what the men who were talking about these sigmas guessed when I said, do you know where that came from? They said, well, Andrew Tate. And I'm like, no. The Andrew Tates of the world and Roosh, I guess, right? Again, see, I've got nothing, right? They're younger than me. They clearly were playing something else that I wasn't paying attention to. We're trying to figure out how to pick up as many women as possible and have sex with them. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and they considered that was being the alpha in the game, that they were going to be Genghis Khan. I don't know. They don't they don't necessarily end up having a lot of children, although some of them do. And sometimes those children show up and say, "Daddy."
Yeah. Remember that long weekend?
here's your child. Are you going to acknowledge him, right? So they seem to want to do the alpha thing, but without becoming Genghis Khan to be the father of all Asia. And I'm kind of, that's about what I know. I know Roosh has decided that was a terribly sinful life and he shouldn't have been doing it in the first place, and it was using those women, and now he's repented, and hopefully I haven't followed him since he was obsessed with making the perfect pizza, but I worry for him. The competitive urge is still clearly there. And I'm guessing there's some deep lore in here. If those of you who are not familiar with Vox and still don't know what I'm talking about, he's got a new Substack called Sigma Game, which is archiving some of this backstory, and he has saying he had an alpha game post from 2012, so I'm guessing this is about 14 years old. This is the significant, important part to establish that Vox did come up with the title, the terminology, right? So guys, it wasn't Andrew Tate. It was definitely Vox. I can't vouch for that from having followed Vox for that long, but it seems consistent with everything I've read in his archive, right? And that he went on from the game analysis of the men, between the alphas and the betas, to recognized that these were not necessarily roles you could play, which is the different part of the game, as in fact descriptions of sort of ways that men behave in their own hierarchy, right? And this is actually quite essential to our conversation tonight, because we are not part of it. We may be the target of it, insofar as some of the men want to sleep with a lot of women who fit a particular profile. But Vox has been very definite on this for the whole time I've been listening to him talk about it, saying women have, you can't figure out whether you're an alpha female because there's no such thing, or a beta female, or certainly not a gamma female, but we'll get to that in a second. Because we all are. No, wait. The categories of behavior, and I recognize them as, and I do appreciate this, Fox as a gamer is understanding that he's describing roles that fit in a particular structure and are situational, right? So you can have a man that in some situations gets to play the leader alpha, but in other situations plays a supporting role to an alpha, or in like the larger scheme of things plays a delta to his boss, right? And that you are, as a man, well, one of the things of becoming a man is learning how you participate in these interactions. I immediately think of World War II buddy movies or squad movies or something like that. Yeah. Or Gilligan's Island, right? Right, because I mean, it's like the captain has to be the leader of the group, but is the professor a Sigma or not? He's kind of the one over there inventing stuff, but the girls do actually go after him some. And Mr. Howell has all the money, which makes him a kind of alpha, but he's married. And then Gilligan, who just doesn't fit and provides all the company. No, that there are, I mean, we see it regularly, as I appreciate it, in dramatic casting, right? That you'll have the male character that is the one that everybody focuses on, right? Which is why I'm absolutely certain that nobody. Oh wait, we've got Chat, we've got Fat, and Manuel and Nibmeister was in. We've got guys listening. Oh, yeah. They're here for our hair. Take your hair down. They're really only here for our hair. They don't care a thing about what we're saying.
If they're here for my hair, they're gonna get very disappointed. This is not television. You've
already impressed them. Hair. You've already impressed them. You have enough hair to put up. That Vox is not much of a video watcher. Yeah. We can get him to watch this one. Never.
Not gonna happen.
This is why we know we're perfectly safe. It's like just as when we did the commentary on the Trinity debate, where the guys in reviewing the debate that happened completely ignored the fact that I was in the video. We're safe. We're in a safe space here, ladies. We can talk whatever we want. Wait, we're all ladies? No. Good thing there's some in here, because otherwise it might be dangerous. Fat says, "Let's see the hair." Cheers. Mel says, "Banks." Don't listen to Mel. Why would you say Bangs? Forget Bangs. No.
Bangs. I think you said Banks.
Bangs. No.
Both very dangerous decisions.
Fat says it's like 4 a.m. for Vox right now, though. That means he's writing. And part of the sort of topicality of this conversation is because Vox has promised to write a book on the socio-sexual hierarchy, therefore that people can point to the definitions. I don't know whether this is going to make his life happier or not, because as I understand it, 10 years ago, he had an alpha game blog or something like that, and he kept getting men, mainly gammas, in the comments desperately trying to get him to tell them that they were alphas, right? If I have this behavior, does that mean okay, guys, if you're asking, you're not. I mean, I don't know. So the alpha, right? And okay, so on the Substack, does any of this make sense yet? Have I done enough good backstory while teasing it?
I think so.
Does it make sense? Unfortunately, everybody watching right now knows exactly what I'm talking about, so I can't tell, right? Okay, so for those who are still lost, right, there was
It's like the...
What?
Oh, sorry. It's like the INTJ thing, you know, the personality quizzes that everybody does. People in corporate, they understand this. They have to do the personality quiz. So it's kind of this version, but for male interactions and male relationships and the hierarchy that they're assembling based on these traits.
So corporate will find this very useful, but it's actually more accurate than the INTJ stuff because the INTJ stuff was made up by 2 women. And there is, I mean, it's like INTJ is more like astrology for nerds. You know, finding yourself in a description and then saying, "Ooh, that, you know, that intensifies my good characteristics." You always want that. That for the most part with the sociosexual hierarchy, it's if you can pay attention, gamer sigma like, but you know, whatever, if you can, or autistically, if you can pay attention to the way people are behaving in social situations, you will see the patterns of these profiles recapitulating themselves, and it will help you know how to, for example, negotiate with your alpha boss, or interact with, if you're the boss, but alphas tend to be bosses because they get people's attention and people cluster around them, how to better use your team, you know, mostly your deltas who work really hard and need certain kinds of encouragement, but not others. And of course, what Vox has been very, I mean, helpful to me in the long run too, is recognizing when they're disruptors that are going to, it seems helpful to start with, that come in and seem to have all these skills and they can, you know, say, you know, I can take care of this for you, and that don't in fact end up taking care of anything, and ultimately by way of their emotional instability disrupt the entire structure and destroy your company. So corporate, yes, you need to be listening, because within these behavioral patterns there are clues to, it's more socio than sexual, and that's why the ladies, we're basically irrelevant to all of this. I'm sorry, like we don't belong in the structure at all, except for, as you know, us occasionally getting the alpha's attention, who sort of wants our attention back. It's hard to say. Sigma doesn't care at all. That men who can learn how to understand this structure will save themselves a degree of frustration and headache, and hopefully be more effective in their own work. Yeah, Steve. Vox mansplains it all clearly in Voxiversity. Sick burn. Hi, Steve. We're not here to explain Vox. This is just backstory for those of us in the Mosaic Arc audience who have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, so in the Substack, Vox has reposted a summary of the profiles, and well, you guys can go to his Substack and look at it. So just briefly, the alpha is the tall, good-looking guy who's the center of both male and female attention, the star of the football team, who has the prettiest cheerleader, the successful business executive with the beautiful, stylish, blonde, size 0 wife. All the women are attracted to them, while all the men want to be him, or at least be his friend. At a social gathering like a party, he's usually the loud, charismatic guy telling self-flattering stories to a group of top-tier women who are listening with interest. However, alphas are only interested in women to the extent that they exist for the alpha's gratification, physical and psychological. They're actually more concerned with their overall group status. All right, so the alphas, although they attract both women and men, are mainly concerned with maintaining themselves in that hierarchy, and so they can be unstable in those relationships, precisely because what they mainly care about is their role in the hierarchy at the top.
Yeah, it's status orientated approach to everything.
Right. Okay.
And
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, even with the relationships, the women throw themselves at alphas, but the alphas are not monogamous.
Yes, exactly.
So it's sort of like I know Vox has mentioned this before, but it bears mentioning again for anybody that is interested in attracting the attentions of alphas. You will not be the only one ever. You will never be the only one even though because of the social structure, there may need to be a kind of facade of monogamy, but it actually doesn't exist in practice with alphas. So there's a lot of sacrifice in terms of the women exchanging certain things that they may need psychologically in order to maintain their status as the side of the alpha in that hierarchy as well. It's an interesting thing that both the alpha and the alpha's partners will be playing the exact same game, and they're not discussing it with a lot of other people, or it might be discussed, but that behavior can't be followed by people that are not alphas, or things start to get a little bit insane and chaotic. But yeah,
and that is really important.
Yeah,
and it literally doesn't matter whether you're the most beautiful woman on the planet.
Oh yeah, no, it has absolutely nothing to do with you as a woman. It's just the psychology of an alpha male.
Right.
They are incapable of monogamy. Yeah, and probably may sound extreme to say that, but in my experience, I've not met or seen an exception to that.
I'm thinking of is it I hope I say this correctly. Tom Cruise divorces his wives every time when they turn 33. Is that
and
gets a new one who's to stay in the midst with them for 11. I mean, the numerology is interesting, but the Hollywood alphas who can change wives, they're going to. Although I did see a very happy sort of celebrity mag post recently where there were all sorts of very long relationships, long marriages. Pierce Brosnan apparently. Like, you know, and I was thinking about this. It's interesting. Those are not the ones you hear about all the time because, of course, they make no stories. They make no drama.
Yes.
So the actual long-term monogamous marriages don't tend to get any attention. And alphas, I mean, I think one of the they need to be at the center of the attention in the party, which can be quite destructive too. Right, if the thing you need to be is the center of attention, do we have anybody in mind at this point? You will do something disruptive in order to keep the attention, because that's the sort of hierarchy of, although they do tend to be businessmen and such too. I can think of, I mean, in academia this plays out interestingly. Higher ranking men who remarry someone younger. Yes. So ladies, you may or may not want to try to attract that alpha, even though you will want him to pay attention to you. It's just like, it's kind of horrible, right?
Well, it may not even be remarriage. I mean, plenty of people have marriages where they're married, but there's mistresses or whatever on the side. It's a strange kind of pseudo monogamy in a lot of instances, but yeah.
I'm thinking of Louis XIV and all his mistresses, right? And it was a big thing to get to be his mistress, but you pretty much knew that it was a short-term thing. It was not going to last for a lifetime. And he did stay married, didn't he? Anyway, yeah. So the alpha status is not Prince Charming, happily ever after, ironically.
No. I think this is what makes alphas dangerous as well, and why when everybody's saying, oh, am I an alpha, or they have this strange psychological aspiration to be an alpha, it's a very strange thing for me, because I've talked about this with friends of mine a long time ago. The culture that we're living in is a result of bad alphas that have no moral checks. So basically, we could discuss a socio-sexual hierarchy, but in my mind, what we're doing is we're talking about like the carnal nature of human beings. It's not something to be lauding and to say, oh, alpha behavior is amazing. I mean, this is the kind of like the result of fallen mankind. So it's not like Garden of Eden where this is the way God created us all to be together. It's the fallen nature. We get captivated by alphas whenever they're present, but bad alphas also captivate the people that are around them. So just thinking of this off the bat, like my first thought is to say, you know, there are good alphas, there are really bad alphas as well. And it's interesting that the Hollywood culture has highlighted the alpha behavior of multiple marriages and all of this kind of thing.
Right.
And it's an interesting thing that this is purposefully highlighted and shoved in everybody's face. But this isn't something that to be emulated by the majority population. It's unlike, you know, a King Louis.
Mm-hmm.
He's the king. There's no ability to mimic this lifestyle for the common peasant and get away from the consequences.
Although there can be peasant alphas in their own village, right? So that,
yes.
But I mean, what's interesting though is with an absence of alphas, it is true there's no focus for something, right? And so in my class today, we were talking about the execution of Louis XVI. And things don't go well after that, right? In a year and a half, everybody who executed the king has been executed himself, right? So I think there's something about our, you know, the hierarchy that needs that king at the top, but on the other hand, being, you know, the king at the top is not necessarily. Well, there is one king, but, you know, we may or may not get to him today. Anyway, okay, so that's the phenomenon and the problem of the alpha as Vox has described it. And then we have the Bravo, which he remaining from beta, because he says it doesn't matter the sort of, even whether these labels all go in some sort of order, they're more just, it's a marker, it's very nominalist. It's a marker for the phenomenon rather than there's some substance to the naming, although he did choose names that like rhyme, I suppose. So Bravos are the good-looking guys who aren't as uniformly attractive or socially dominant as the alpha, but are nevertheless confident, attractive to women, do well with them. At the party, they're the loud guy's friend who showed up with the alcohol and are flirting with the tier 1 women and cheerfully pairing up with the tier 2 women. Bravos tend to genuinely like women and view them in a somewhat optimistic manner, but they don't have a lot of illusions about them either. They tend to be happy, secure in themselves, and are up for anything their alpha wants to do. When they marry, it's not infrequently to a woman who is one of the alpha's former girlfriends. I mean, when Vox talks about the Bravos, they actually seem like the best guys, right? They're handsome. They're in the, you know, they have access to the alpha. They do like women, which is not clear the alphas do. They're loyal to their alphas, which I think the organizational thing that Vox has pointed to that I have always found quite insightful is it's a really bad idea to promote them into the leadership position after the alpha dies. And the sort of, you know, the sort of catastrophes that you have when it's, you know, sort of it's the stuff of comedy in terms of, you know, taking a sergeant and making him a captain or something like that. But you're taking someone who was good at being the support and terrible at being the leader. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and Bravo's misfortune would be married to the women who were with the alphas and who want the Bravo to, you know, like seize you need to, you know, assert yourself and seize this, that, or the other. Yeah. And it's like, that's really deadly. Right, it's not going to work because this man that you're with is good at being the lieutenant, but he's terrible at being the general. And that I'm grateful to Vox for that, you know, sort of description, because you can see this playing out in history constantly. Right, there'll be some magnificent, charismatic leader, and the guy who follows after him, either whether he's his son or whether he's his you know lieutenant in military terms, can't do it, right? And it doesn't matter that the alpha picked him and said he's my successor, he's the best one I've ever had. It won't work. You can't alpha someone up.
Yeah, you don't get voted in. Yeah, it's not a yeah. You can't nominate yourself for alpha status.
And even the alpha can't pick you to be it. So it and you know, obviously what's happening here is recognizing there's some degree of charisma that people have and their ability to persuade others to do things that they want to. And alphas definitely have that, right? They're the guy who can come in, say something, and everybody starts acting. And then the Bravo usually has to be the one that's sticking around making sure actually stuff happens, because the alpha's going to go off and do something else. Yeah. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, we do have those guys in academia too. They come in, they set stuff up, they leave, right? And you're just like, that, you know, institution builders, they're founders, but not builders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so most guys, the good guys, all the good guys are deltas. The great majority of men are in fact this. And this, I think there's another, necessary insight here is that men actually work well in teams. Yay, men, right? So Hollywood, if we're thinking Hollywood, so we have the alpha star guy who can command the stage, right? Although he's being manipulated in the background by guys with money and other alpha traits, I guess, right? But anyway, so there's the alpha guy who can take the stage. There's the supporting cast. And then there's all the tech that enable them to have the illusion of being, the center of this story, right? There's the grips and the camera guys and there's women in some of these roles now, like script supervisor and costumes and, CGI, all of those, right? It's like you sit and watch a movie and there's the 10 people that were the leads, right? And then the acres names. The phone book full of, now that they're trying to list everybody, right? Of everybody else, right? Who will never be on screen, who will never be the ones in charge of anything, but do their job really, really well, right? They're going to get that button right on that coat for that costume, or I've seen this with, like, when you go down the rabbit hole of the how they made things, the guys who worried about Jack Sparrow's jewelry.
Oh yeah.
in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, right? It's like, and I found this ring and it's exactly right what Johnny needs to wear, right?
Yes. They're detail orientated.
Yeah.
They worry about the mechanics of everything that the alphas have just
sparked out. Yeah.
Imagined over everybody else and commanded them to fulfill. I mean, it's funny. But yeah, they can't do anything. It's the deltas that do everything. The
deltas make everything happen. But, as catastrophically, you cannot put a delta in charge of anything because they don't know how. And again, I've seen, in my minor experience in academia, right, most of us are good at teaching and write our stuff. And there's a fantasy that everybody wants to be president of the university. No, we don't. Okay, I'm a woman, but I don't think most men do either, right? I think most of the time you maybe want your local role, right? But what you want to be doing is your work. And that's admirable. It's great. Unfortunately, and again, Vox has talked about this for the women, being married to a delta doesn't feel as exciting because he's not going to be in charge of anything. He's not going to be the guy who becomes president of the company or makes the I mean, if they do good technical work, they might make the big bucks better than it. But they're the ones that are actually good at taking care of everything. And Vox has made good pleas for, women. You need to take care of your husbands because they're doing the good work, right? Of building cities and houses and structures of institutions and roads and all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. My favorite delta told me a while ago that he consciously refused to climb the hierarchy of his organization. And I asked him why, and he said, because I wanted time with my family. That was his priority. Nice. And he kept everything running beautifully, despite an incredibly complicated thing that he was running, a lot of women to take care of. So people would often ask him, why are you not doing this or whatever, because the boys assembled around him as well, and everybody looked up to him. But he said, no, I'm happy where I am, and I don't want that life. I'm not interested in it whatsoever. So he was actually present with his family and gave emotional support to the people around him, which is the thing that deltas can give people that the alphas cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good dads, right? It's like you want good alpha dads. And to say that, all of the dad jokes, I mean, delta dads are, I'm guessing, right? Because my dad, I think, was an alpha a bit. I mean, he was a heart surgeon and left my mother for a younger woman, I think, maybe. Oh, dear, right? So I have no clue. I have no idea what a delta dad would be like. But, they're the ones that you make dad jokes about because they're dependable. and it's horror that Homer Simpson should be a Delta dad, and instead he's the butt of everybody's comedy. But they're also, I suppose, there's also that sense of, well, they are dependable, and you want them and you need them, and it's a horrible tragedy in our culture now that there's not a respect for them as builders.
The jokes about the deltas, it's probably there's two ways I'm thinking that works, because it does come across as very disrespectful at the moment, but they're also the people that are safe to joke about. I find that the delta fathers being the receivers of the dad jokes, it's because they're safe. That's what makes them comic outlets for people. I don't know, I just like it's a kind of compliment to them, because they're not going to take every criticism as a challenge to their authority, which the alphas tend to do as well.
Very good point.
And so if you want to be relaxed and tell a lot of jokes and make fun of somebody lovingly, and have a family that lovingly hazes everybody, they're the people you want running the family. But they do need to be encouraged as well, and I think it's probably part of the problem now is that the deltas are embarrassed to be deltas, and everybody's sort of being inspired by retards on the internet like the Tate brothers to be like top G alphas, when most men cannot be, and they shouldn't be either, because you're going to make women miserable. Everyone's going to hate you. People hate deltas that don't settle into their role and become good deltas. Everybody loves a good delta, actually. They're beloved, but they need to be encouraged. Unlike alphas who don't need any encouragement.
No, the alphas are Teflon to women's, criticism or anything like that. You're just like, not going to do it. That I think that Vox points out. Deltas tend to put the female sex on pedestals and have overly optimistic expectations of them. If a man rhapsodizes about his better half or is an inveterate white knight, he's almost certainly a delta. Deltas like women, but find them mysterious, confusing, or sometimes secretly a little afraid of them. Which is for women our problem of so much of the literature about what it is to be a bad woman is being that naggy wife, and I mean the deltas don't care, right? The alphas don't care. Nag away, they'll leave you. It's like, it have zero effect, right? Whereas the deltas, the good dads who actually respect women, put us on pedestals, maybe we may not earn, are going to be affected by that the bad stuff that women can really do.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've got the examples in my mind, but no, these are the guys that are going to be crippled if they're cheated on by their wives. Yeah. Deltas fall in love. They're monogamous when they're consciously committing to a woman, and they become monogamous. They fall in love. They commit to their families. Obviously, men are human, like women. We all make mistakes or whatever. But in terms of like the rule for this category, no, they're faithful to their families, and they're the ones that get destroyed by Jezebel behavior. Right. So it's really something to be talking about, probably with your daughters as well, in terms of how they're. I didn't think we'd go there in this stream, but in terms of women that are savvy enough to notice the hierarchy when they're growing up, because women do notice it as well. I would be telling your kids, for people that have daughters, to make sure that this is something that they keep in mind when they go out onto the dating scene. Well, this is actually we are actually doing what women do with the socio. Why we, it's like what is the women's role in the socio-sexual hierarchy? It's to be intense students of the men's. Which I hope we pass. I hope we are paying attention properly, because everything we do depends on it. We'll get there. Right. But this as a demonstration of, so we do have
Mel says, I love deltas. Find a delta girl. Find a delta girls. That
they're great. They're actually wonderful. Like deltas are amazing. Everyone needs to be talking about deltas more. I'm so effing sick of the Tate's top G shit. Really, until you've been around men like that, you don't realize how like horrible your life is going to be. Like my girlfriends sorry, I'll rant now. I'll get into that. But like my girlfriends growing up, women that I know, I cannot emphasize enough. If you start going for that category in that class of male because you want the status, you're gonna have a horrible life.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a roller coaster. There's no like cushy penthouse. It's a celebrity death match kind of, like it's a blood sport. And the deltas are great. Like women are being brainwashed by toxic alpha culture now to be looking for these kinds of men and overlooking really, really amazing men that would make them wildly happy. And I've seen women that have swapped out really beautiful deltas for what they thought were going to be alphas that could give them status, and they've ruined their lives. So don't do it.
Well, I'm also there was something I was thinking about in terms of so mothers listening, will know this. If you have a son who's like this, and it's like you can see, then you send him out among the women, and you're just like, oh, I hope she doesn't like hurt him, right? And that feeling of these, they're fragile, right? And I think that what the way Vox describes them is, they're a little bit afraid of women. Yes, because we can be really vicious bitches. And that sort of, there's a horror in it, because they could be really good for people. They can also, Vox also knows they can be a bit smothering. So that's a challenge, right? But most, it's like to understand that so much of the battle between the sexes, stuff that people used to be able to talk about, was probably at this level, right? That's the dad jokes and the nagging wife and stuff like that. It was trying to teach people how to be just couples in this most basic foundational way. And then there's doof. And those who spend most of their, we're not going to do omegas and forget about lambdas and sigma. We're not going to talk about you because you don't care. The gammas are the ones that everyone ended up being warned about. And when Vox decided to put his hand to writing comic strips and wrote Hypergamouse, which Lacey Fairchild beautifully illustrates, there is a gamma in this story. You want to tell them about him? Tell the people about Doof. All right,
Doof. I'm having flashbacks. No.
Okay, we hope that most guys are deltas, because if most guys are gammas, we're all doomed.
Oh, I will never leave my house again. Happily. I'm inside. I'll cut my hair. I'll shave my eyebrows off. I don't care.
No, you wouldn't. Because gammas aren't actually paying that much attention to women either. They're just writing all the movies. Right, so the opening one is like Revenge of the Nerds is a gamma fantasy, and what that means is,
well, I'm
getting more wine, and now we're getting to the tough stuff. We've broken open the pictures now. You guys know we're going in.
We haven't even got to the women yet.
This is our opening. Well, no, look, we needed to do the woman thing, which is talk about the men, and therefore fail the whatever it is, the Bechdel test of films, right? Can you make a film with women in it as main characters that don't spend most of their time talking about men? Why would you want to? That's what we do. Talk about men. Are you kidding? Mm-hmm. It's like what you'll understand why. It's like, why would I want to watch a movie with no men in it? I don't get it.
I was trying to think of an example, and I couldn't. All right, so gammas, if you don't know what gamma is not an alpha that wants to be alpha, but doesn't want any of the risks or responsibilities of being alpha. Constantly challenges alphas actually challenges everybody really, but then gets very angry when they're not treated like alphas because nobody wants to, because they don't have the alpha tendencies. Yeah, that's probably the best short version
Very
of it.
nicely done. Well,
they don't do well with women.
They don't do well. So and this is like women just run from them, right? So in here, Doof is in the hypergamouse character saying, "No, of course, no one is more positive than me." And the girl mouse, who I don't know all the other characters' names, right? Is this what being on drugs feels like?
Yes.
The internet, created a circumstance for men like this to be experts in things, and this is the sorrow for the gammas, because they often actually are quite good at certain things, introspective, the unusual, the unattractive, and all too often the bitter gammas. Gammas are often intelligent, usually unsuccessful with women, and not uncommonly all but invisible to them. Thus, hypergamouse. They all the girl mice have difficulty with Bidoof. The gamma alternates between placing women on pedestals and hating the entire sex. This mostly depends on whether an attractive woman happened to notice its existence or not on that day. Too introspective for their own good, gammas are the men who obsess over individual women for extended periods of time and supply the ranks of stalkers, psycho-jealous ex-boyfriends, and the authors of excruciatingly romantic rhyming doggerel. Right. This is for women where you sort of, is he a delta and he's writing me nice poems because he likes me, or am I about to get overwhelmed and crushed by being called a liar and a fake and stuff like that. In the unlikely event that they're at the party, they are probably in the corner muttering darkly about the behavior of everyone else there, sometimes to themselves. Gammas tend to have a worship-hate relationship with women, the current direction of which is directly tied to their present situation. However, they are sexual rejects, not social rejects, and he puts the omegas as the actual social rejects, and we're not going to worry about that right now. We would say so Fat seeing Scar from Lion King as a secret king. Yes, the gammas. I mean, I think they tended to be the ones that pestered Vox the most when he was talking about the parts of the hierarchy, because they want proof that they're actually higher. But as we said at the very beginning, if you're asking, you're not. So don't.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're about to try to prove to us you're an alpha, you're not. Because alphas never ask. Ever. No. I'm trying to think of how many alphas I actually know. It's probably not very many. Rack's brain. The alphas don't tend to thrive in academia for a variety of reasons, but
a lot of them end up in prison. Well, let's say that. No, it's true though.
That alphas do.
Yeah, because they like challenging other alphas, so that behavior tends towards like very hyper competitive fields.
Yes.
And the hyper competitive fields get stacked with alphas that are wanting to go and challenge other alphas. It's like when you see animals locking horns on a savanna or something. Right. So yeah. A lot of them end up in situations or particular fields, I think, because of that.
Well, they'll like
a lot of them in prison.
Directly competitive fields, because that's
yes.
Yes. So and that's it's interesting about academia, because we are meant to be a competitive field, but everybody pretends that it isn't, and yet it is. I mean, it's enormously competitive. It's like, I mean, truly to get For example, the job I have, there were 150 applicants for it, right? All of whom were probably at some level completely qualified for it. That really doesn't make me an alpha, which is interesting, and I'm not a sigma either. I'm a woman, right? Which is we are going to tease you about this till we get there, but there are interesting effects for women trying to operate in men's hierarchies, and I think academia used to be a lot more deltas, right? They were guys who did good work. They could be promoted on the basis of doing good work, and there would be a few alphas around to be the star or something or other presidents or administrators or publishing. I don't know. I don't know whether alphas are often writers, because gammas are a lot writers because they're very introspective and trying to figure it all out. If they could only figure it out, then they'd be an alpha. And it will be sad for us if we realize that all of like the books that we're reading are by gammas. Because alphas just don't sit around introspecting that much.
I thought of a good example of an alpha writer. Roald Dahl. He was an alpha. I think I would class. Or maybe he might have been Sigma, but no, he was a war veteran. Like flew warplanes, traveled all over the place. You know, did his safari thing in Africa. Very popular with women. Had a lot of adventures. Yeah, he's probably Sigma though. But yeah, I'm just trying.
My dad tried writing a novel. I was thinking about it. I need to find it, but he made himself. He basically made himself the hero of it. But my dad really was. My dad really was a trauma surgeon and a pilot and a hot rod racer. I mean, you know, the sort of edge testing stuff, and he didn't seem to spend much time worrying about what other men thought. So. The gammas like Doof. Well, on the one hand, Doof is always describing himself as the best in the room, and then doesn't take care of himself physically, so he's clearly not. But yeah, we're not here tonight to solve the gamma question.
No, that's true. That's just
we are here tonight to tell you. The Vox is right that he doesn't know anything about the female socio-sexual hierarchy, which is why the mice in his stories don't. These mice are written by a man.
Yes.
So with the redhead, she's in a very fetching dress. You were commenting on where the fashions come from in this strip, right? I think that's Lacey. I don't think that's Vox's doing, but you know, how do I look? And
Lacey's got a good eye for
she does. And the other mouse is saying, stunning. What planet does Vox live on? He's never met a woman. Oh no, you do Space Bunny. She's very beautiful. What? Right? Oh, so should I be nice or play it cool? Better go with nice. I'm dying. There is no way that. Oh, and here's we have you know, it's a joke off of Midnight War, right? Of the angel character with the cross and I don't remember why is the redhead dressed as a vampire? Is it a Halloween outfit?
They're both cosplaying Midnight.
Okay,
War.
So that's funny. So the knight has her cross and the vampires, which is hilarious and has zero to do with women.
Yeah.
Do we have your attention now?
The girls,
after we spent an entire hour cooing over how clever Vox has been in describing the men, and he knows very well he has zero idea about the women because he's always said so. And Hypergamos is a delightful proof of that. Are you guys all going to tell Vox now? And the thing is, what we say now for the next hour, he won't care because it's irrelevant to men, which I find interesting. And so I'd be interested to find out now if we've delighted the men that we understood you all well. Are we going to piss off all the women because we understand you too?
Well, I don't know why I'm too contrarian. I would think that they should pay a little bit more attention because hopefully they're having daughters as well as sons. And I think it's probably useful for them to prepare their understanding of how girls behave with each other slightly so that they're able to support their girls a little better through the process of entering this as women. So, yeah. Well,
so Fat says, that's a good point. All the women in Hypergamos act like teenage boys. No, they don't actually. What they act like is women attracted to men. Right. So to be fair to Vox's experience, they act like the women whom he sees when he's. So what's funny about this is, on the one hand, we ladies have absolutely zero idea what you guys are like when it's just guys in the room. Because by definition, if we walk in the room, we destroy that situation. Over, done. And my best sort of witnessing of this was watching a very ancient hangout. It was like before there were these streams, there were those streams, right? And Milo was doing some kind of hangout stream. I can't remember whether it was a spider bite one or not. And at the beginning, there was just guys in the room, right? And there were. So I guess I got to be an observer of a situation in this context. And the guys were all acting like guys together, right? Guys. And there was certain guy behaviors that I hope I'm interpreting correctly playing out, and they were all really comfortable. And then this girl dropped in, who was I've forgotten what her name is. Totally changed everything. And I, as the audience who was enjoying watching the men talk, was like, "Get out of there, lady, girl! What are you doing in there?" Because instantly all of the men start, and even and Milo even started talking to her, and although Milo is not on this category of hierarchy in this particular moment, we know was saying, "Oh, you look very pretty," or this or that, and it killed the entire moment. The men had been having this really nice guy thing, and this girl came in and wrecked it. Now the thing is, it all stayed very personal and pleasant, right? But the whole sort of feel and structure of their interactions shifted completely.
Yeah, it does. It does. It makes them kind of retarded. The thing is, if women are entering a men's space, suddenly they're instantly drawing attention to themselves.
Oh, she did this too. Is Margaret? I think her name was Margaret. It's like, so one, we have observed this. We can be accurate in this, right? Women enter the men's space. It's like when the men wanted their clubs in, Victorian London, and there's like, just want to stay away from my wife for a bit. It's like, to a certain extent, what they want is the masculine energy. C.S. Lewis loved talking about this, right? He liked hanging out with other men. Although he was, Lewis, I think, strangely enough, he's like, I love, he loved hanging out with men, but he took incredible care of the mother of someone whom he'd simply promised to take care of her if he died in the war, and his friend died, and so Lewis took care of his mother for the rest of his life, and her horrible dogs too, right? So Lewis was someone who was very capable of sacrificing an enormous amount to take care of these women that lived with him, but on the other hand was also blunt about how different it was for him just with men friends around him. It didn't hate women. He just knew the difference.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a coffee break from responsibility in a lot of ways. Men, C.S. Lewis is just surrounded by women. He's taking care of them actively. It's different nowadays, but that drawing attention to yourself as a woman is part that's connected to the fact that people should be taking care of you. So there's a kind of implied demand whenever we're present in men's spaces that they are no longer off the clock. Suddenly they're back on the clock. I think that's where it comes from. They need time. They need time off the clock, or else they're always working, which might sound really strange to women to think about. Say, what do you mean they're always working? But they're literally always working. Even when they're home with their families, they're working. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is taking care of their families. Right. So it's an understandable thing that they would need to have time off from being on. Yeah.
So I love how, you are beautifully compassionate towards them in so many ways, and I really appreciate that. What I'm noticing as a woman wanting to enjoy their men's conversation was and you're seeing that, they're taking responsibility, right? Here she shows up, they're going to take care of her by asking her questions and attending to her and paying attention to her and stuff. And that's being good men, right? That they are in fact being good men. And women, but I think, so women, academia, for example, right? And particularly over the last 100 or 150 years, just barged into these men's spaces and say, you should let us in too, because we need status. And it's like, why?
Yeah. Which kind of status?
Well, then we get to, we've got Heathers, right?
Oh yeah.
So every so often in the pub, in the public consciousness, there floats up. I forgot to look up who made all these movies, so we do have some Barbie pictures. So yay, Ken Gosling. But I don't know who wrote Heathers, or even who it is. But it's one of those that I saw in grad school, 1988, right? So I was too old to see it in high school or college, but it resonated, right? Because of course I want to be Veronica. Wait. It's funny looking at them. It's like we've got the three Heathers and Veronica's of course why do I have a monocle in my Bitmojis? It's probably because of that movie, right? Because she does this whole thing of she's gonna keep her diary, and of course she gets to stand up to the Heathers and take care of everybody, so that she takes care of the fat girl who ends up on the mobility scooter and such like that. To let the sort of reality of women's interactions and what we do.
Well, she was an interesting character because she was adopted by the popular clique, and you see her describe her relationship with those girls as being work in one of the scenes. She said, I have a job and my job is being popular.
Okay, now I think it's written by man.
You think so?
It's like somebody look it up. Doc is a great writer like Veronica. Aw. Well, I did keep a diary, so I'm totally this kind of woman character. And there was a brief moment, this also resonates for me. There's this brief moment in middle school when the popular girls talked to me at all. They had 3-hour-long telephone conversations with one of them, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's talking to me. I can be somebody. So I get it, right? It's like why would I want to be part of that group at all as a Veronica? What are the Heathers? And then, of course, what I veered off into is, of course, the real reason I wanted to be Veronica is Christian Slater's character. And I was like, I'm thinking about men again. Is this a movie about women, or is this a movie about what kind of status women are looking for from the guy who shows up is what's his name? Is he an alpha? Is he a sigma? What is he? He's willing to blow up the whole school, which is why Veronica ends up blown up in the picture that we have here. Why does she get the kind of status that she does from having been his girlfriend? Is it simply women get status because they have a boyfriend? No, we know that, because if your boyfriend's a Delta, you don't get the same kind of status as you get if your boyfriend's, what's his name? I don't remember Christian Slater's character's name. I've got name
JD.
JD, yeah, juvenile delinquent. Which goes with what you said about the alphas ending up in prison, right? So needing a challenge and a skill, and they kill the, spoiler alert, they kill the football players, right? Talk about an alpha. Yeah. Whoa.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Whoever wrote that film, how they've described the relationships between the cheerleader girls, the Heathers, and the jocks that they're hanging around. See, all of this, I don't like. This is like studying a foreign country for me, looking at these high school examples, because I didn't go into this kind of environment, so I don't
trust me. They're totally accurate.
As an anthropologist, going, oh, really? That's what you're doing there?
Well, and the thing is that this could be a whole nother stream of the way in which American teenagers are, it's like anthropologically you have to be hazed to get through puberty. Well, that's what we do. We put you through high school. And if you want to know why Nancy Pelosi and company all behave like they do, they went to high school. Everything you need to know about American culture is in the high school hazing ritual. Like you send men off in African tribes, they send them off into the bush, or I don't know. I'm mixing. I'm not an anthropologist, so I haven't studied all of these stories, right? But you send the guys off into the wilderness to fight monsters, and you send the women into, I don't know what kind of puberty rituals did they have in America. You send them all to high school.
And lock them in.
Lock them in.
Well, lock them in. Well, the girls, there are a couple of scenes in that film which I found really interesting that they included, like the main Heather, which is the alpha female of this clique.
Well, we need to another. So the chat has been wondering about are alphas, alpha women? There are no alpha women, right? That's I don't think that's the right term, and that's what we promised some kind of way into the female socio-sexual hierarchy. The point about the Heathers is they're all Heathers, right? There's some we need to. So men make a pyramid hierarchy: alpha, support guy, a lot of deltas, gammas trying to crawl their way up, right? What do women make?
Constellations. Would that be a good way of describing
Well,
it?
I don't. Let's figure it out, right? That's actually, and the thing is, I do know, having been the Veronica character and therefore not really a part of these, I had to observe, right? And if the closest I am, it's you're the autistic woman, you get to be INTJ and observe all of this and have to fake it, but you can't fake it, and so you never get to be one of those women, ever. But on the other hand, if you're Veronica, I don't know, you become an academic and write about them. I'm not sure. The thing is, I think in academia there's a lot of Heathers. So the sort of group dynamic that women create, we do actually, and we have to be horrifyingly blunt and real now, because otherwise we won't unpack it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Heathers. It's a. They're not really vertical hierarchies because the women aren't assembling to collaborate for responsibilities as much as they're assembling cliques to collaborate to maintain social status, which is a different kind of collaboration. I disagree that there are no alpha females. I think alpha females do exist, but everybody gets a bit confused about what the alpha females are and what makes them an alpha. The way that Heathers describes it fits the way that I grew up and the people that I grew up around best, which is probably the main Heather, who really does run the show in the Heathers clique. She runs things essentially through fear of dismissing everybody from that particular popularity group.
Yep.
But what I think showed really well in that was her readiness to be sexually active with the right kind of guys secured her position as much as people actually liking her. Most people didn't really like her. Most people were terrified of her.
Yes, it's like, is this a family show or not, right? But they want to be me or
exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah,
and she says that in one of the scenes too. She says everyone wants to be friends with me or they want me. So basically that's the alpha of a clique is a female who is the kind of embodiment of this philosophy. But what I liked about Heathers was it did show a scene of her, the chief Heather. She's looking at herself in a mirror and she's really, really sad for a moment, looking at herself after she's had the engagement, a little moment with one of these college boys at a party. And she's had to do something. And she looks at herself and you can kind of see in the moment, like she feels like she's degraded herself or whatever. but that's in her head part and parcel of being the alpha female. And this reflects the kind of women that I grew up around very, very closely. Girls that were early bloomers were the alpha females, and then they're the ones that assemble the cliques. They become the alpha females. They don't have a good time. Yeah.
Well, so this is where I'm wondering. I didn't want to do this to be a movie analysis, so I didn't do my research on that.
Yeah.
That who's writing these, right? It's like whether or not these stories, like, so I was joking about Hypergamos Vox is writing it, and so the women don't actually behave like we recognize women do. Who's writing Heather's, right? I think with Mean Girls, which we have next, which is interesting. Yes. I don't like Mean Girls as much as I like Heather's. I think Heather's is way darker. Christian Slater's way sexier, and more of the dynamic that I recognize is in that one. Mean Girls, it's like, it's similar. There's a clique of the three of them, and I hilariously enough, I didn't realize that the main character girl is the one played by the famous one, because in these pictures you have in the mall, she's like the dumpy one who's been living in Africa, right? So she has no status.
Yes.
And then the great revelation of, oh, they're just like in Africa, being chimps in the cafeteria, right?
Yeah.
Right. So she gets
chimp out in pink.
Here we have her in between the other two girls. The kind of clique dynamics of how do you tell the truth about each other to each other, and maybe this is why there's I get the sense that an alpha man worries about his competition with all the other men. Okay, that so they have to like fight him. If you get the new lion and the pride, they have to fight. Generally,
the alpha female is the one who sets the opinion standard of the other girls that are around.
That's it.
They might disagree secretly. There's a lot of backbiting and whatever, but never will an alpha female be openly challenged on her opinion.
That's it.
And if it is the case, then it is like it's an open challenge. It doesn't go well.
Yeah, well, here's the challenge scene where girl is dressed up. What is it? What's her name? The actress.
Lindsay Lohan,
right?
Lindsay Lohan.
When she finally gets her hair done great, and now she's so. This is, you have just described it. That's exactly it. That they're the ones who set the opinion of everybody else.
Yes, it's a social opinion.
It's a social opinion.
And this is kind of, well, this is what I was thinking of earlier when I was saying that bad alphas are really dangerous, right? Especially now. I'll give a full disclosure. I've ruined a Christmas dinner before for an entire table of people by challenging the opinion of the alpha female at the Christmas dinner. What opinion did I challenge? Was something that I had to. It's not something that I would have ever done, because I wanted to ruin everybody's Christmas. Right. But we're apparently at that point in the West where I can't even have a Christmas dinner without somebody talking about trans kids. So the alpha female was sitting at a table and explaining that she thought it was an amazing thing that children were able to choose their gender. And my heart's beating just thinking about it, actually, and talking about it right now, because I was like that chick from Africa and Mean Girls who just arrived with no status, whatever, and trying to figure out how all of these cliques work. And then realizing that no one at the table was going to say this is a load of shite.
Right.
And actually what you're advocating for is the destruction of childhood, because the end game of all of this philosophy is that your children are going to be mutilated. There happened to be a pregnant woman sitting across the table from me with her husband who looked horrified. And it's the kind of look that you would give a monster if they'd crawled out of the sewer and arrived at the Christmas meal. You know the look I'm talking about. It's you need to leave immediately. You're dangerous to this situation. Right. Her husband was beaming.
Well, okay.
And he actually said, "Oh my God, thank you, finally." So So I apparently gave him a little bit of relief. But I wrecked Christmas, and then after the meal was finished, the women sat in a completely different room to me and didn't talk to me for the rest of the afternoon. I sat outside with the boys, who were not even bothered about the entire thing.
Right.
I think we started talking about buying a staffy or something. We started talking about dogs. But that was it for me. I was done. I was out of that clique. That friendship never recovered from that moment, really, because from that point, I heard an alpha talking about things which made me want to vomit, and I'm not the kind of person that can stay there and listen to these kinds of things. So without being prepared to sit there and listen to the established opinion of an alpha female, you're not going to stay in the clique.
And that
you never will.
A beautiful description of exactly what it's like. Mel reports from the chat that the Heathers was written by men, which explains why I like it better. And that yes, Tina Fey wrote Mean Girls, so it's much more. It's like the whole the resolution of it all. With Heathers, there is stand up to these women, fight them, right? I think that's what Veronica actually is willing to fight them. And and she's also, she's willing to stand up to JD, but it's a very masculine energy. It makes total sense to me that Heathers was written by men. Mean Girls wasn't, right? If it's written by Tina Fey, she's playing out a different kind of dynamic with the characters. Even though there's the popular clique and the stand up to the clique, the whole situation is played out completely differently. And what you just said about I have actually experienced a lot in academia. It's not even the content of your argument. It's you disagreed with the one who was setting the tone.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. That's all it is. And I think because men don't understand this, they get confused about women now and why women have crazy opinions. Women don't have crazy opinions. Alpha females have crazy opinions. And nobody is challenging the alpha females.
Right.
Because if they do, they're socially destroyed. It's done.
Over. It's done and over. Here we have Barbie with her flat feet. But the thing is, okay, one, where the alpha, whatever, I don't like the saying they're alpha female. I think Queen Bee works, but that
works too. But I've heard people use the term alpha. The problem is I don't like Queen Bee because Queen Bees are actually good. They get the drones to work. Right? The Queen Bees actually give the whole hive a purpose. and I'm not clear whether alpha women lead in those terms, right? What they give is a purpose for the social set. The social dynamic of and mainly the women collecting around the alpha woman queen who interestingly, just like the alpha man, is actually necessary. Oh yeah. Well, look what happens when they have the wrong opinion. They set the tone. They set the social tone for everything.
Right, but the thing is, just like, so you need, I don't know, Melania in the White House decorating the trees, right? You do actually need a woman doing that, because otherwise there's like it's wonderful how complementary we are as men and women. The men need to be there doing their hierarchy, and the women also actually need a woman setting the tone for the conversation.
Yes.
Because otherwise, socially, everything breaks.
Yeah, it does.
We actually need Barbie to be Barbie and be the cheerful one and spray, hi Barbie and hi Barbie, and it's like they're all echoes of Barbie, and they need her to be the one that they all cluster around, to be the queen. And it's like the queen. Well, queen is actually the role that the women have tended to take in society, and we need the queen of heaven to get there. Right. So it's not that.
Well, this is an interesting thing too, because
we'll go to the Queen Barbie and Weird Barbie, and then riff off of this for a sec. Go ahead.
Oh yeah,
guys, I have to tell her what images are up because she can't see the. It's not just me being
no,
bossy.
just like yeah, I had a joke. I won't say it.
I am not a queen bee. I can't do it. I am literally incapable of it. I want to fight.
She's so full of it.
Me?
Okay. Oh yeah.
Okay, my hair is long and beautiful.
Paula, you're beautiful, long silver.
Look at me in my Barbie mirror.
Fencing champion. You're the only person who can like get me to do anything on a regular time schedule.
I think that's my Joan of Arc abilities. I don't think that's my queen opinion. I don't make you believe my opinion. I dare you to disagree.
But
I don't.
I
right?
respect your opinion. If you said that this was bullshit, I would think, oh, maybe it is. You know, like you have that. You're in that role.
Okay, so thank you. But what's interesting is I do recognize my own response to women who are the ones who can lead a group, which is different from what I think you and I have. I did think we were going to have to get here, so I recognize I actually am way more comfortable when there's a hostess taking care of things in certain ways. I can do the hostess thing because I've got enough Southern in me, but it's like a role that I know how to do rather than the thing I naturally do. And I was thinking about this years ago when I was doing my fiddle class. I hope my friend isn't watching, right? There was one woman in the class, she was a really good fiddle player. I liked the fact that she was the one that was more skilled and polished and stuff in that room, because then I didn't have to do it. I was like, great, I just can like be crazy and weird Barbie, and I don't have to be the one that has to take care of the group, which I could if I want to, and I can do that if I'm teaching, but I don't. I like being the one in the back of the class going, but.
Okay, I understand what you mean. No, I get it. It's just funny you're saying this because you are the main host of this stream. So I am sitting back literally in the back of the class at the moment. Being weird. No, okay, yeah, Barbie's important. Her social role is really, really important. She keeps people connected. If you take out the Barbie, the social connections are dissolved, and then everything starts to go to hell. Which is something that probably the guys that were focusing on the feminism aspect of the Barbie film didn't pick up on so much. She does keep everybody connected. She makes the relationships fluid. I think a good Barbie is like that. They are able to create real network of people. They can introduce people to each other that may not be able to do it themselves, and they make social bonds happen.
And they're really beautiful when they do it well, right? It's like we all like. I mean, it's like thinking about it's like Greta Gerwig, good on you, girl. Because and this is what I also think. It's like a good Barbie makes all of the women around her beautiful.
Yes.
All of them.
Barbie was beautiful because she wasn't competing with the women. She was taking care of them. She was taking care of all of them. It's like, we really, really want you, Barbie. And I think the response of the women going to the movie and seeing, and this I think is a challenge, right? Because we say, and here we get to the sad part, right? The weird Barbie is made that way because women are being forced into roles and expected to be beautiful and things like that. And I can't be that beautiful, and therefore I'm going to be a feminist and cut all my hair off and dress, in a masculine fashion and wear combat boots and be ugly, right? I literally wear combat boots. Hey, I wore Doc Martens all through graduate school, right? Yeah. They're very sturdy boots. They're comfortable. They're my Birkenstocks. Birkenstocks are ridiculous. They get little gravel caught in them all the time in your feet. It's like they're bad sandals. The penance sandals.
Okay, fine. But it's I mean, it's interesting that so feminism attacks the Barbie something, right? And I think this is so the Barbie was different from Mean Girl. Okay, if Heathers was written by a guy, then I get that. No wonder I like it. Mean Girls is trying to resolve the opinion controlling thing that
yes
the leader woman gets up to, and Barbie is trying to give us this. I mean, she's Virgin Mary. Greta, you did spend enough time in Catholic school. Hooray, right? She gave us a Mary that was able to make all of the, and this is what's fun about the Barbie world before she goes off and finds, picks the Birkenstock, that all of the Barbies are happy and it doesn't matter what size they, I mean, they're all fat and, this and that, and one's pregnant and stuff. It's like a good Barbie makes all of the women in her community beautiful. That's my statement.
Yeah. It's true. It's necessary. They keep the vibe up. I mean, it's not just that. There's I don't know what you would call it, a kind of floristry of personality or something, but no, very good Barbie women have that ability. I've known them. I've known very good Barbie women that have this ability. They're lovely to be around.
Yeah. I just thought of one that I can't. It's like she's so beautiful and she makes me so. And it's not motherly particularly, right? I mean, they may be mothers and they do have that, but there's this sort of magic of. I mean, one, they pay attention to you in a nice way instead of a bitchy way. And they are, again, I know I'm not that because I get tired, right? And I want to go like argue or something. Whereas they seem to be able to, if they're steady enough in themselves, they're able to, then when I can think about it, they just create beauty all around them.
Yeah. It's a really important kind of person to have in a family. I mean, I'm sad thinking about this too because I've known these kinds of women that have gone into the woke, like been infected by this bad ideology virus as well. They're not immune from it. But in terms of their role in a family and in the community, they're very, very necessary. They keep things beautiful. They keep people focused on each other instead of the stuff. If they're a good Barbie, which is really important in a family structure as well. I think they hold people together when things could otherwise get very cutthroat and
right.
Yeah. If they're not there, suddenly the dynamic of groups of females in particular changes for the worst and things get very, very nasty very quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's like we promised to explore the idea if we could figure out what kind. I mean, I don't think the women have a hierarchy. We have a dynamic that we all recognize because it's so maybe to describe particular characters. The weird Barbie, I mean, she's still a Barbie, so she's still nurturing and caring of the other Barbies. So all the Barbies are Barbie. That doesn't help us.
Well, she's got a weird house, she still plays hostess. It's just weird hostess.
Right. She still takes care of them all and plays hostess and
she does.
And so there's Gerwig couldn't put, there is no character in the movie that's not a Barbie. Okay. She's completely useless for us. Let's see. We'll go to Bridgerton, right? I was thinking about that. And this image of the queen in her court, which clearly has captured people's attention. You were doing the French Revolution, and they cut off the queen's head, and yet here their Queen Charlotte is up in England being head of the society and the tone. And on the one hand, there's this sense of, you know, isn't it horrible that they all have to compete in this way? And on the other hand, it's like, isn't it great that she gives them a context in which to be beautiful, right? There's the next scene I had was the guys on the film crew filming the women in the cast in their costumes and everything. It's like, without a queen, you don't get to have pretty dresses.
Yeah.
Nobody to have the ball. Nobody to, you know, to sort of, I mean, set the tone, right? And then it's like the queen, Bridgerton is showing the queen is in her role of creating like marriages and everything for everybody, but also creating a context in which all of this social you know, adjusting and finding partners. And I mean, it's all about the, oh, that's Marie Antoinette. It's all about the dances so that the couples can form. The queen actually gives, you know, fertility. Oh, wait, my bee example works, right? She makes all of them fertile because she helps them all find husbands and wives. She helps them find each other with her social arrangements.
Yes. Fixing. Yeah. But
and what I realized also for the Marie Antoinette, I was riffing off trying, you know, it's like trying to figure out whether the French Revolution is good or bad. Think bad. That there's a petition of the seamstresses to the king that's written in January 1789. So it's before the Estates Generales met. It's before all the, you know, bestie and heads getting cut off and stuff. And the seamstresses are saying to the king, you know, keep men out of our business because we want to have our own jobs. And make the prostitutes like wear something as a badge or something so people don't think we're prostitutes. But most,
because they needed a badge.
well, they're women in the city and supporting themselves and they have money and stuff. But yeah. I'm realizing as we're talking, it's like, these are the women making those clothes for the court.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's like they're the artists.
Yeah.
They're the you know, the fashion designers and the haute couture and everything. They're the ones that Marie Antoinette, because of her love of fashion and her court, is giving jobs, right?
Yeah.
the luxury trades, right? The seamstresses are the women making the beautiful gowns for the other women. Now you can say, oh, the social status and stuff. We're not talking about that. We're talking about women enabling other women to be beautiful. Mm-hmm. And having that dynamic.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, it's probably the most difficult thing, isn't it? It's not always possible. I'm thinking in, you know, in terms of different social situations, girls can be absolutely crucified for being too pretty in a room of other women.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, so someone in the uninitiated in the chat asks, what about the prettiest girl that gets left out because she's too hot?
Oh yeah, that's a thing too.
Right. So now I think we have enough of our pieces. So we have good queen who creates social settings, Barbie, happiness, and then all of the sort of bitchiness that we have also witnessed and felt that Mean Girls is trying to show. And I mean, and recognizing that some women can play some of those roles and not others. And I some of the question I suppose is how many character roles are there for women? I mean, there's always this sort of argument and frustration that, well, women only seem to be virgins, mothers, and whores, right? So that they seem to be the only categories that we get. Mm-hmm. Men get to be all of these things, you know, all these different kind of hierarchical things with jobs and status and stuff like that. But women only get to be wives or mothers, and interestingly, only get to. I mean, Queen Charlotte is. I'll go back to Charlotte. You know, she is who she is because she's married to the king.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So I was thinking about the hot girls that miss out point, which I'll get to later. But in terms of virgin mother whore, even those things are far more complicated than people are crediting, because they're not the same thing as what we're describing here in terms of a woman's actual social role. You could get either 3 of those women and put them in a situation where they have to run a court, and it would look completely different depending on the particular woman. Not everybody's able to make that social bond with everyone else. It's not this isn't something that's given just because you're a married housewife, for example. The women like Charlotte, they get their status from the men. But that's because that's basically how women get their status. Their ultimate social status is it's who they're with. It's who the men in their lives are. Yeah. Marriage.
Which is, of course, therefore why women pay so much attention to the men's hierarchy. Because let me see if I can do this bluntly. Okay, so we talked about why it's so important for good dad deltas, marry the delta guys, and you have a good family.
Yes.
And, mistakes that women make who get ambitious and want their men to be things that they can't in the men's hierarchy. Okay, so that's one, sort of women interacting with the men's hierarchy and dealing with it. And then the other, being jealous of the women who are able to get status from the men's hierarchy.
Yes.
And then a third difficult category is whether women can have status and what that means independent of the men's hierarchy, and if that's even a real category. And maybe there's others that I haven't thought of, but that's so women in relation to the men, women in relation to each other in relation to the men, and women in this sort of hypothetical feminist something else category that means you have your own status. Now I have a sort of deadly destruction of that one, but let's see whether we can play with it a little bit.
Okay.
Or should I just kill it? Should I just kill it now?
Oh, you can kill it.
It's
now.
your job. You marry your job.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and that I was walking to campus today thinking about that. That's one of the reasons that women's in public life create such different dynamics than men in public life. Women marry their jobs. Like, your job is the thing that's, I'm independent. No, you're not. You're getting a salary. Right. And there's out here on the internet saying the wives, why wouldn't you want your own money? It's like, you never have your own money. Sorry. It's either your employer is paying you or your husband's taking care of you. And the thing is, this might be a, sort of to be continued, women's relationship with money and how we are there. But I think status wise, women in the professions get status from their jobs in an exactly analogous way to the way they get status from their husbands. It's relational rather than something else that the men get. Ladies, I don't think we can get out of our relational situation.
That doesn't bother me. I'm just thinking, I'm going through my example list in the back and thinking the creative fields are where this kind of gets blurred.
But the married to your job problem?
Married to your job, but also getting status from the proficiency required to be in a position in a creative field.
Right.
But this is probably where all of the gender stuff gets crazy, and the reason why it's got so crazy is it's not like I don't see people that are in creative fields married to their job and having a relational thing with the job. They're actually very good at what they do, or they wouldn't have a career in that creative space. So it's different somehow.
That then I will articulate more.
You know what I mean? Like Greta Gerwig makes Barbie.
Yeah, but
she's obviously a great filmmaker. But
yes, I mean, you can be a great mom in relationship with your husband, or a great wife, right? True. So it's not greatness that's the question. It's one, I think, if we see this play out in the political world and in the academic world, the way in which women have responded to some of the stresses that we've all experienced over the last several years about freedom of speech and opinions, right? Mm-hmm. And I include myself in this as much as I might want to be Veronica written by a man. Women don't tend to like to move as much. And in academia, that means we get lower status because we won't play the market. But I recognize in myself, I'm loyal to my institution. What in the world does that mean? That's nonsense.
Got it.
Right? Because my institution is taking care of me. I promised myself to work well for him, right? It's like, men don't think of it in these terms. I know they don't. Because I hear them don't say, and so we map onto other kinds of relationships, the primary ones that we actually function well in. And that's what I mean. It's like nuns talked about themselves as brides of Christ. I rest my case.
Yeah.
Like literally women who had, well, actually they had, priests and confessors and things like that. But when they had no other relationships with men, they still defined themselves, and they did it themselves. Like there's, the men are often, trying to just, give them other kinds of spiritual counseling and stuff like that. And the women, well, they can and they can't necessarily focus on their Christ relationship. But this sort of default to relational is the woman's problem, which is, I think the hierarchy is different from the relational. And I like the way we've articulated who the queen is for the women. She sets the opinion. And everybody wants to match her opinion. That's what you need to do. You need to match her opinion. You're in real trouble if you don't. So that in Bridgerton, of course, we have the little fat sister who they really made. She was in Barbie too. Did you notice? She was beautiful in Barbie. In Bridgerton, they made sure to make her look odd, right? Because she's the character that's just writing the she's in this picture with the set guys. She's writing the rag sheet that's gossiping about them all.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So she's actively going against the opinion of the court. And they're all sort of eating it up because they love the gossip too. But to do it, she's basically having to betray all of the trust that anybody has in her by reporting on it.
Yeah, well, she's not participating in the court. She's outside. So it's a totally different. Is it? I haven't seen it, so I I can't say too much. But no, that's the expected role for women in these situations. Like women at court have to participate in the accepted opinion of that particular space,
right?
And that space follows the opinion set by the queen in that environment. Right. And as soon as you challenge it, you're out.
Yep.
That's it. Yep. It's that simple.
And what's funny about it is the court, it you can say the court is created by the queen doing this. Women create courts. We create these kinds of.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be the suburban court. It's Real Housewives, right? I haven't watched that, but whatever. It's like you get sets of women, and what you have latched onto is saying that the women's hierarchy is going to be somehow defined by who's setting the opinion, who's policing it, right? That's what the Mean Girls are having to do. Who's challenging it, so is the challenge of the queen's opinion the same as a gamma challenge of an alpha?
It can be, but not always. Because, I mean, to use my previous example, my challenge of the alpha at that court space wasn't because I was actively challenging the position. I didn't want it. I actually have never wanted that position. It's very stressful. To watch it happen is beautiful, but to actually have to do it is a different thing entirely. And I appreciate good alpha females. They're wonderful. My doing that was not a challenge, but it's because I've grown up around a lot of alpha women who have become bad alphas, and that once the opinion of the court is set in an immoral tone, everybody follows. Yeah. Because the fear of the social ostracism keeps everybody in line. Gosh. Now, it's really a kind of death. So, for example, if men are thinking about it like, oh yeah, it's not so bad. No, you have no idea. It would be like, for most people, walking up to the local captain of your football team, punching him in the face. What do you expect to happen?
That's a challenge, though. Men do that.
Yeah, they do it. But they understand it when it's physical violence. They understand it when it's a physical contact, a physical challenge. Right. Or something, or, like men duel. Yeah. But I don't think that they appreciate. I don't know. Do you think they appreciate like a female duel? Looks completely different.
No, that's why Vox keeps writing those mice is so sweet to each other. How do I look? Stunning. Yeah. Like, no. Well, are you kidding me?
All very. Yeah, they're all very supportive of each other, looking beautiful. It doesn't happen like that.
It does not happen like that.
And the thing is, if you're in a space with bad alpha or bad queen, running the court, then you're sucked into a vortex where you're at court following moral standards that are set by somebody that you either openly challenge or you have to leave. There is no other option. So it's very difficult to do that. And if the challenge doesn't work, which it rarely does, then you're left with being socially ostracized. Right. So this is what most women are dealing with in terms of the dynamics of their female hierarchy. And I think it explains why women have so-called crazy opinions on things. They don't actually have these opinions. Most women are not saying their actual opinions on anything. They're avoiding ostracism, but they're avoiding the terror of having openly challenged the alpha at court. It is very it's a terrifying feeling to do it and then to suffer the consequences of what happens afterwards.
It is possible. You're kicked out of court. It is possible to challenge. But and the thing is, I can think of whether or not there's any stories where it's been written well. Mm-hmm. But there's no actual challenge to Barbie in the movie, so that's not an example. No.
I'm not saying challenging is bad. I think sometimes it's necessary.
Right, but it's thinking very, about very it, it's necessary. Like you know it as a plot event because it changes everything. Yeah. And that's really worth thinking about. But the thing is, it's totally internal to the women too, because it's not something that the men actually can affect.
No, they have no influence on this, because they can't stop the ostracism. Men can't stand.
Precisely.
Men cannot step in and stop the ostracism. This is where the men have no power. Women have no power over a male socio-sexual hierarchy. Men have no power in the women's either. they can't stop this mechanism from happening. Even if they loved somebody who was the brunt of the ostracism, they're powerless to stop it from happening. So, yeah.
We start thinking of actual examples, and it's like, yeah.
I have plenty. I'll say it openly, because I mean, probably the fact that I do this stream with you, people will assume that I'm an alpha at court. I'm not. I've been kicked out of many, many courts. And it's not because I wanted to be the alpha. It's because I can see what's happening in our culture is toxic. It's like facing the return to invasion of the body snatchers, where suddenly all of these groups of women that I'm engaged with and having a beautiful time with are suddenly saying things that are deranged. They want to castrate their children. I can't listen to this and then stay in a court. I'm going to leave. But the thing is, it comes at a cost.
Right.
People can see it. Like, this is why I love you so much. Your courage is amazing. It's...
But in the sense, you understand what I'm standing up against in female terms. Yes.
Of course. The men see it as Galadriel and armor, but they don't understand but it's true, they don't understand what it costs you.
Thank you. Oh. I know you know. See, this is the real mice, right?
Yeah. This is why hot women drink. It's not a picnic being around alpha women in a time when
well the
whole culture is dragging you towards an immoral abyss.
Yep.
This isn't like 1940s where you can fuck around for a couple of years and then get married. People won't ask you what you did in your late teens. We're dealing with the situation as women now, like the generation where I came up, where I don't know why I'm crying so much.
Oh, it's truth. It's truth hits.
I know beautiful girls. If it was me, I would say it was me, but I'm talking about the girls I came up with. Beautiful girls who had to get into these situations as alphas, where they were with the so-called alpha boys who had floor-to-ceiling posters of pornography in their bedrooms.
Oh man!
And this was their first experiences of courtship. So when we talk about female competition, I think about these kinds of girls that I grew up with. To be 14 years old and have a panopticon of the kind of competition that you're up against in that way. This is again why the boys don't understand.
There's no queen, there's no Barbie, there's no Mary.
No.
To take care of them.
There's nobody in that situation to say what is happening here, fixing the social situation, pulling the girls out of the fire and saying, no, that's not for you, leave. So what happens is you get courts assembling, and the opinion of the court is that everyone has to follow them, the queen bee, or they're out. So what happens when girls are entering these courts? They have to, or they're ostracized. And it's incredibly painful to watch, because it's you can see fear in women when they're in these situations. They don't say what they want to say. They're not saying what they think out loud. They're saying the approved opinion of the court to keep themselves safe from being ostracized and becoming a what's that thing when they scrub your name off monuments, you know?
Yeah.
Like this level of memory holding that happens, the social memory holding.
Damnatio memoriae, technically.
Yeah.
You don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and it's real.
Yeah.
You do not exist. You do not exist. So yeah, in this unexpected emotional breakdown for everyone, hopefully you can start to understand that when you're shitting on girls like Andrew Tate all the time and talking about how dumb women are, they're not dumb. They just don't want to go through what I did or what you did or what a lot of other women have had to go through in order to stand up for the right thing, to declare open warfare against the court because of a feeling that you need to fight the alpha for the alpha's own good. Even it's a terrible and terrifying thing to be called to do.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. And if there are any women that are willing to do it, they should be congratulated, because what we see a lot of the time is hating on girls and like what's happened to women and the being emancipated and being liberated, and oh, she's not in the right kind of environment, she's not a suburban trad wife and blah blah blah, and she's not, you know, she's not a housewife and so therefore she's failed. No, because you don't see female dynamics, you don't understand the courts. To be in that space, you have to toe the line, or else. And God help you if you don't.
Yeah.
And
we will end up with cake. The cake girls.
Oh my God, I love cake.
They turn them into cake in these outfits, right? I can't remember why that showed up, because I was looking around for court scenes and stuff like that, and so it's Marie Antoinette, and we get ladies as cake. Yes, why will women all dress up as cake? Tasty. I think we have found it. We found truth. That's really important. And that thing that I mean, what's okay? One, I'm old, right? I think things like with the fencer women, I found a group of women who knew how to fight too. But we're odd. No, when I realize when I go to the tournaments with them, I have a feel of, I know how to be part of this group, and a lot of what I did learning to be a fencer was I just wanted to belong. I wanted to feel like there was a group that I belonged to. And what we've been talking about now is saying, yeah, if you are a woman that is willing to like be at the dinner party and say the truth, you are risking more than me. Kilts, I'm thankful for you for saying that. You're risking more than the men realize.
Yeah.
Because men are going to be okay if they can work together and do something together, and they can disagree. It's like, why we can't have a beer together? We'll just get, no, we can disagree. Women can't. Yeah. You disagree with the group. There's no like, oh yeah, sure, we can, fight it out and drink. I mean, that's we fencers, right? But there's another layer of it but you still have to play by the group's agreement. And wear the cake dress. Yeah.
It's a tribal kind of situation. Women are not psychologically primed to handle the responsibility for keeping society morally in check. Like the
I'm mainly letting you recover right now.
No, I'm gonna say, like, it's not natural to be running around getting kicked out of courts and then having this experience of being a lone wolf or whatever.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Feminists are writing about this as like some kind of amazing experience where women can be completely emancipated and do their own thing and they don't need anybody, and it's great. But this is not the way that women thrive psychologically. Women need the courts. They need them. So this is the difficulty of being a woman, is that you need something to keep you alive socially. And that's also like the psychological health. To thrive, you need the court. But then our difficulty is, what do we do when the court becomes destructive? Right. That's our difficulty.
I would say I was thinking, can I save Hypergamouse and saying, is there actually one of the mice that is a good Barbie, so that the others are able to function the way they are? Unfortunately, the mice women characters are too undifferentiated for me, and I don't remember which one's which. I'm more focused on the guys.
I'm looking at the outfits, like, oh yeah, she's wearing today. Yeah. So I don't know in terms of Hypergamouse if any of the girls fit this criteria or not, but they're also not depicted as needing to engage in the kind of challenge of somebody
having the women
correcting the course of a court. Yeah, that's gone wrong. And they don't seem to ever be dealing with the psychological tension of what happens when there's the queen bee who's making an opinion standard, and then there's the challenge or the dissent on the side that is never spoken out loud. So all of that kind of horizontal hierarchy of being a woman is it's different, and it's not demonstrated in Hypergamouse.
Great. I wonder if Fox will help us with him write it. Well, Uninitiated says, I appreciate your taking a stand on such an important issue. You'll always be welcome in my court. So there you go.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yes, well, Dragon Kamuro's is a very exclusive court, and I'm the queen. No, wait. Which, the thing is, what I was saying earlier, it's like I do recognize as a Southern woman, which I've discovered that I have access to if I'm really mad. My accent is like, it blooms, right? I do understand the hostess role, and I think that is actually, it's interesting that that's not something that hierarchy, I mean, it's like, hostess makes everybody feel good, right? She's the one that makes sure that you have someone to talk to at the party, you're taken care of, you're welcome. It's like, and that social role, so interesting. We've lost it if there's no women being women.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It disappears.
Well, I'm glad we found it. Right. And there is a theological claim here that I've been gesturing to. There is an answer. Why do women need the Virgin Mary? It's because she can be queen of the court. And she can keep us, if we're focused on her, from being bitchy to each other. And I do think that of, sort of the things that have helped me through all of this to be courageous about, it really is true. Keep focused on her, and the other things don't get triggered as badly, because Our Lady is the most beautiful creature ever made. So there's one hope, right? The feminists took Mary from us That's why we need her. She's Queen of Heaven. Actually, is absolutely necessary for our spiritual guidance, our focus.
Blessed among women.
Blessed among women. Okay. Fat, I'm taking notes and I'll post them for feedback. Well, thank you. All right. We've had our biggest audience ever for our little court here tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for treading into the very dangerous waters of what happens among women. There's more, I'm sure, as you can appreciate. I hope it was helpful. Are you okay, my dear? I need to take care of you.
I'm gonna have a cigarette.
Stop the stream and I'll give you cake. All right.
I need cake. I need wine. I need a cigarette.
You definitely do. You've been a trooper, an absolute trooper. So, like, subscribe, tell Vox that we did this, get him to watch it. I don't know. Tell him about tell something like that. I have no idea how it's good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.